Hey everybody, it's Rajesh here.
Intane here.
Welcome to our podcast, Baskets of Knowledge, Chats with a Difference. In our podcast, we invite guests from around the country and around the world to talk about how they got to where they're at the moment. It's about a journey, it's about an experience, it's about their life.
Yeah. And this is another thing, so I had those trials and tribulations through that first to second year, done real well, had a great 2019-2020 summer, was gunning for third year because third year, I had my surgery halfway through second year, did my recovery rehab, which was a pretty long and strenuous process. It was quite funny throughout the surgery to cast to moon boot. For 6 weeks I was in this pink cast. I don't know why. They said black or pink, and I was like, oh, if I go pink, at least I know if I'm sitting down on a night out, people more like to see pink than black. So I dealt with that, and even that's another one. A lot of people with a cast. I see people. This is not me pointing, picking on people or anything, but I was in my cast, and I just knew I didn't want to be sitting around in a flat all day feeling sorry for myself.
Yeah.
So I spent the first 2 weeks of after surgery at home. Lucky it was my left foot, so I could still drive. And I was still going to the gym, hopping around the gym. So I was like the kangaroo as such of Les Mills.
Yeah.
People would just see me hopping around, and it was quite funny even still, like down in Dunedin. People were like, oh yeah, you used to hop around here with your pink cast and whatnot. And I was like, yeah, the pink kangaroo, mate. That's me.
Yeah.
So, even that was a testament to stick to, what I'd worked so hard to build. I guess, I still cranked into it, still had to deal with my crutches and everything, and crutching to class, slipping over on my crutches when it iced over on George Street.
Yeah.
But going through that whole process to get to third year, and I was like, right, back on track to playing rugby again. And it felt like so long, I just got there, and I'd been like, I think I sat there, it was about a week before my first game, lacing the boots up. And it was just, I'm getting like flashbacks now. It was so weird. Like I'd just been sitting there like, far out. 2 years, nearly 2 years, I haven't played this game. Oh. And it was amazing. And then just as we were about to play, old auntie pops up on the news and we get the announcement that we're going into the lockdowns. And I was like, oh, okay. Rightio. Had a big pre-season. Had come in, like I'd busted my absolute, backside off I was the fittest I'd been. I was the strongest I'd been. Everything was, I was this whole new player that I'd worked. I tried to do everything I possibly could without being able to play rugby to make going back to rugby the best experience ever.
Yeah.
I'd gone back to pre-season training. I was smoking in the fitness drills. I was doing all this, I was like so stoked. And then, got the lockdown and halted that journey for another 2 months. And then finally got my, when it all ended, drove back down to Dunedin. And the morning of, when I arrived back, get a text from my coach, oh, you coming to play today? And I was like, I've just driven 9 hours. Yep.
Sign me up.
Yeah, mate. So I got to the flat. I couldn't even unpack the car. I just said, just quickly have a shower and then chuck all my stuff in, find my mouth guard, and then off I went.
Yeah.
First game back, rolled my ankle. In a warm-up.
Oh, wow.
Rolled the ankle first game. And, so I taped that up hard. And it was only a little trial match against another team at the club.
Yep.
Yep, taped it up. And then I had a week off. And this is basically the storyline of this season. Out of the 9 games, they shortened the season up to a 9-game season, plus finals and whatnot. Yeah. So out of the 9 potential seasonal games, I played about 5, and then I played the semis and finals.
Yep.
And I tell you what, I'd bruised things and sprained things that I didn't even know you could.
Wow.
Done my sternocostal joint. I'd done my shoulders again, my ankles twice. This season, I was looking so forward to, and I thought I was going to basically propel myself to levels of playing that I'd never experienced before. Just really, it had its glimmers, but all in all, it was a bloody struggle. I'm not gonna lie. Week to week, something else is going wrong. I'd done my fingers as well.
Yeah.
And it was all these little things amounting, and it just, I'm not gonna lie, it broke a lot of my passion for the game.
Yeah.
I was still doing my last year academy. That felt good to be able to be in academy again and be doing things with my mates again, back like how it was. It was like, that was great. But you go to trainings. Oh, sorry, I've done my shoulder on Saturday. Oh, ankle's gone. Oh, can't breathe properly because my sternocostal joint sprained. It was like, oh shit, I'd done all this. I just thought, what is happening? Like, this shouldn't be happening. I've done more work than I've ever done in my life off season, and yet this injury is still happening. So I got through that first season. We won the final. It was bloody amazing. And I thought I'd been a bit of a curse. My curse got lifted that day because for the last 3 finals I'd been in, was it 4 finals I'd been in, I'd lost them. Part of the losing team. So to get to that fifth final opportunity and win it, was like, okay, that felt great.
Yeah.
With all the adversity of that season and everything else, it just felt like, right, that was awesome. However, it was kind of like a sort of climax for me, like after the, big ups from winning, and we had the club celebrations, I just, the passion kind of left, and I just wanted to take, I knew I was finishing up with the academy. I was, okay, I'm not bound to this whole professionalism anymore. Like, the academy was it was bloody awesome, and I'm thankful as for the opportunity. But there are some expectations of that, which for some, 18 to 21-year-olds, they might click with it hard.
Yeah.
But for others, I know it can be tough. And I knew some of the boys in there that used to find it quite rough having, a person breathing down your neck, watching you. You felt like you were being assessed through every aspect of your life, how you hold yourself on social media and the public, with your teams. And having that, like, someone's got a camera, a drone following you around, it can be quite daunting. I know some people, it drives them to perform, but, for me, it felt like I had another set of parents. And even my parents weren't that strict on me. But it was like, these, I'd have messages about a certain thing I'd said here, or, screenshot something. My coach was, manager would screenshot something and be like, what's this? And I'm like, oh, okay. Delete this, and it's not even anything with malice, and I understand that's the whole professionalism of footy, but that was quite hard for me. And so getting to the end of that third year of being in the academy, I was like, look, I don't love rugby as much as I used to. I have truly fallen out of love, but I wouldn't mind playing socially. I still like the social idea. Obviously, I like throwing the ball around. You can't not like that. So I jammed, and this was my 4th year in Dunedin and 3rd year in physiology. I jammed Prem 2s. So I was playing Prem 2s. And, it was great. The atmosphere was so much different. It was like, cool, it's kicked back. The boys are, it's not serious. Like, it's serious to the point where, like, you got to be serious to an extent to actually be able to go out there and play footy and have fun. But it wasn't like the pressure of, if you drop a ball, go and do 50 burpees, or, every single misplay you're getting harassed. It was a lot more laid back, and so I was enjoying it. I got to change positions, because I'd done a lot of work with my conditioning. I wanted to get out of the front row. I wanted to have fun, basically, spread the legs, as old mate said. And so I got to play a new position that I've always wanted to play. It was great. It was fun. I actually enjoyed that type of rugby. Second game in, was going well. I was playing pretty good this game. Last 5 minutes, I went to carry the ball. Guy was retreating from offside, latched onto my back. I stuck my left arm out, and basically upper arm inside, forearm back, came back that way. And so fully dislocated. Luckily, it didn't break. And then the play runs over me. I'm lying down, just kind of in shock, what's going on, seeing boots and stuff going over my face and whatnot.
Yeah.
Once everything blows over, I go to sit up, and the elbow had sort of gone in the reverse L around my knee, and as I'd bent up, the pressure I put on crunched it back into place.
Yep. Oh.
So there was that. Again, it was that whole like, even when I'm not taking it seriously, I can't catch a break with this game.
Yeah.
I'm giving everything to this game, and the game just takes everything from me.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on? Oh, and so I was in a sling, and again, I was like, oh, look, it's just another bump in the road. I still continued doing what I could, training or not. And this, at the start of last year, I'd taken boxing on board.
Yep.
And started to transition. That was a sport I actually enjoyed playing and playing. We never say playing. A sport I enjoyed training for.
Getting involved in, yeah.
Yeah. And so I started to focus a lot my attention on getting better at that, with the hopes of getting first novice fight.
Oh, yeah.
So I was training pretty intensively for that. Obviously, the elbow slowed that down. Still had my left arm, though, thankfully. For a meantime, though, because then a couple of weeks after that, had a bit of an accident at an arcade game, and I split my knuckle open. So at one point of that year last year, I looked down at myself and I'm like, this has just got to be like a bit of a drama, like comedy. I can't use both arms. I can't do both the sports that I
wanted to.
Yeah. And far out, and even like just like even uni and stuff was difficult, because it was like he had this elbow here, and I'm like, trying to type with a giant swollen hand. So it was quite stressful. I sort of keep trying to keep that mindset I'd really developed. That just, hey mate, you just got to get on with it, and chip away and do what you can do. But then I remember halfway through that first semester of last year, I just, all of a sudden, this is around the time of Silverline Festival, there's this normal stress from study, which normally, it's hard, but you deal with it, like you just use it kind of to drive and fuel the study.
Yeah.
It hit, but then it really wasn't the same. It wasn't like a sort of drive stressor. It was now I felt like I was just losing parts of me. I all of a sudden found it difficult to talk to people. Everything went from being effortless to requiring a lot of effort, even just to hold a conversation like this, I'd have to think about every word that started to come out of my mouth. And with every word, I thought about the impacts it had on whoever I was talking to.
Yeah.
And this is even with my close friends as well.
Totally,
and so this just sort of began to snowball throughout that first sem. And then about 2 weeks before exams, we had a bunch of assignments, as you do. They backpile it all to the end, as we love from our courses. I'm doing these assignments with my mates and in my class, and everyone's looking to me for advice on these things, and I typed up my assignment, and I'm looking at it like, this isn't right. Yeah. This is completely incorrect. And my mates are reading over and going, that's completely fine, man. What are you talking about? Like, I was like, no, this is all terrible. Like, I just feel like an absolute idiot. They're like, what's going on? Like, they couldn't quite grasp it. And, I remember stressing and then losing that sense of I was just second guessing myself with everything.
Oh, wow.
And even when for example, there was one assignment, busted ass for it, handed it in. I got a bloody good grade for it, but even when I got that good grade, I just felt like I didn't deserve it. I felt like, no, he's being generous, or he's being empathetic, or whatever to me. Like, I don't deserve that grade. I know I wrote terribly. What I put on that paper was garbage.
Yeah.
These are the thoughts that kept turmoiling in my head, just building and building and building. And I got to exam season, and I'd done all my notes, done all my prep the whole sem. And I'm sitting there day out, and I said to Sam, yo, I literally feel like I've never looked at this in my life. He's like, oh, wow. I was like, well, I've got all these notes here, I've written them out, handwritten, and I'm looking at the lecture slides. I said, couldn't tell you what is explain that. He's like, but you were just doing that before. You just wrote it out. Nah, I don't know. So I went into the exam season. It was bloody awful. I walked out of the first one. And I went back to the flat, and I sat in my room, and I called Dad to say that his son was a failure again.
Oh no.
And I said that I failed the exam, and I just started bawling my eyes out on my bed. And I had training in about half an hour, I had boxing. And the boys came in and said, yo, yeah, you should go to training, man. You should, just use it. You enjoy it. It'd be good to blow off some steam. And, like 40 minutes before boxing training, you're sitting on your room with your hands, head between your legs, bawling your eyes out. And then you've got to go and train. And I remember I jumped in to do some sparring that night, and I just let him punch my head in, that sounds pretty vicious, but, obviously sparring, normally you're guarding up, doing all the rest of it, and I just let Sam tee off.
Yeah.
Because I just was, wasn't all mentally there. I was just completely so spaced out, dealing with the fact, and even Dad was like, why are you saying this, E? You just sat the exam. You don't know what mark you're going to get. I was like, I know I failed that exam. And I knew I failed it because I completely froze and that was bloody awful. I really wanted to put something on the paper, but I just couldn't move the pencil. I just could not move it. I was just looking at it like, and I would force it. And the harder I try to force that pencil down, just the more my body it was like it was just protecting me from something. Like there was a danger there that it was like the paper was danger and the pencil, I couldn't touch. I could not make that pencil touch the paper. And then so the rest of that exam season was bloody awful. It was a massive strain. Just the toll it took on me was even afterwards. We finished exams. I just, unlike my other mates who are, up in the air, just enjoying it. I'm sitting there just like, I'm about to fail. I'm about to fail. All my mates are going to finish uni this year, and I'm going to fail, and I have to do all this again. Oh, I'm back in first year's position again. Oh, shit. Got back to Wellington. I remember I'd also been pretty harsh, like just with the whole mental sort of, my mental well-being and health just deteriorating. My eating had also become pretty off, unhealthy. I was eating, and this is by no means, I was eating basically a standard woman's basal metabolic rate worth of calories, which is around 2,200 calories, and I'm training 10 times a week. And this is high intensity training. You're training in the mornings for an hour and a half, busting your backside. And then you're going to uni and bashing out a full, 10-hour day at uni or whatever, back at training again for another hour and a half, and sparring and all that, and then getting home late and having to have dinner, sleep 9, and all over and over and over again. All whilst eating bugger all. So I dropped a lot of weight, and I've always been, everyone's obviously fascinated with the weight loss, and I too got captured in that idea. But this was the most unhealthy way I'd ever done it. I was on the scale, it was great, and look in the mirror, it was great, but I look in the mirror and it's just nothing stimulating me. It was like, you might look as good, like what you think you look good, but you feel terrible. I did not feel one bit healthy at all, and it was all in tandem. The physical health, not feeling myself well enough, plus the mental side of things, it's all things to study. It just turmoil. And I walked through this front door, went straight to the pantry, and I just started fully just binge eating out, and I'd do that, and then I'd have to go for like a 10K run down the road to be like, you've got to get rid of it. That whole mid-year break last year I couldn't enjoy it, because it was the fear of going back down to Dunedin. And it was just like, the inevitable. You're going to just go, you're going back down to drive yourself further into the hole. And about second week into the break, I got my marks back, and for all the exams that I said I was going to fail, I only failed one. That was the first one that I was certain on. The other three I'd actually given a good crack.
Yeah.
I got all good. I got fair marks, and they were good by my standard. They should have been good.
Yeah.
But nothing. I read these exam results, and I'm like,
cool.
No, nothing.
Yeah.
So much numbness.
Yeah.
And that's when I don't know if that's a good thing, but that's when I realized I had to text Dad.
Yeah.
I said, hey, I got my marks back. They're not bad, but I still feel terrible, still feel bloody awful. So we had a big chat about, what could we do? So he took me away. We went up for a bit of a family holiday to Rotorua, which is great. Got to spend some time with my nephew who had come over from Oz, and so I hadn't seen him for 7 or so years.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
He's all grown up now. He's 15, and I think he's 16 now, actually. And it was good to see Logan again, but family holiday, even Dad, he pointed out, he said, you didn't fully enjoy that, You weren't fully settled. And I said, shit, no. Because it was just always in the back of my mind, no matter how far north we go for a holiday,
yeah,
I've got to go back.
Yeah.
And so I drove back down. God, that was a bloody awful morning. We caught the 2 a.m. ferry to Picton.
Yeah.
Me and my mate, my flatmate, who was also my best mate, we're on this ferry together, and we got on last-ish. So we get upstairs, all the seats are taken.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
So, and this is, I can't remember which, it was one of the Bluebridge ferries. And so we found a table with these single seats. So it's because we couldn't lie on them, we ended up sleeping on the floor.
On the floor, yeah.
Metal floor, right above the engine.
Oh, damn.
So we're lying, I'm looking over at my mate, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be so comfortable. And he's like, yeah, I'm just tired. Because we didn't sleep the night before. We were packing, and then we just said, we sat in the lounge with my old man and my younger brother, and we were just like, oh, it's not much point going to sleep.
Yeah.
So we chucked on a random show on Netflix and stayed up till we had to leave.
Yeah.
Oh man. And then we got to Picton, had to drive down to Blenheim to pick up our other flatmate.
Yeah.
And then he drove us down to Dunedin. So my mate that I'd come off the ferry, he's bloody 6'6", but long bean, so he got the front seat. Yeah. It's very rare I find a lot of people who take the front seat over myself in my own car.
Yeah.
But I jump in the back seat and I'm cooped up, and it was a bloody awful ride. But driving back down, obviously coming to Rio, the chat was all around, we're gonna steam hard, we're charging on, it's Rio week.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, really?
What am I doing here? Yeah.
I was like, I was so scared of drinking. I was like, it's not what I wanted to go back to. It was just like, guys, get me home. And so I went down, and I just didn't want anyone to know that I was in this state again.
Yeah.
Because I thought, because I'd gone through previous encounters, and I'd spoken at a Silverline event.
Yeah.
It did Festy. Year before that, it was the panel, and for It's Not Awkward, Bro. And I felt like because of this person that people knew me for, highly active, big advocate for mental health, passionate diver, all these like very extroverted aspects. Because I felt like I could not be that naturally, I forced it to be that. I forced myself to be Ethan.
All those things, yeah.
Who, I had to basically try my best to be Ethan.
Yeah.
It was so energy depleting. So that Rio week was fucking hard. That was when I had another anxiety. Like, this was anxiety attack because the worries started to come in.
Totally, yeah.
So I thought, okay, I had a break from study. Surely I come back down and it just rolls. And so I open up, first lecture, trying to watch it for physiology for the SEM. All right, let's go. It's an introduction lecture. All they're doing is just naming some of the lab apparatus.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this stuff like, I'm trying to pause lectures and trying to write things, and I'm like, holy shit, this is an intro lecture. Normally you just skip through these. And I just paused it. I couldn't get through more than 5 minutes, and I'm sitting on my little, I had a yoga ball at the time as my seat, and I was in my dressing. I was by myself as well. We'd had some. It was that night? We had a 21st to go to that night, and I just remember I shut my laptop and I just hid between the knees again, and was just crying. Like, I was just bawling my eyes. I was like, "What am I doing? Like, why are you like this?" Just getting so frustrated with myself. Like, you've already been through this stuff before. You know how to get through this. But nope, just crying. And that was the first time I'd ever had suicidal thoughts pop up into my head. I was looking around my room and I was like, this room's not ideal to hang anything off. You know, I was thinking where I could do things, and I was looking in the mirror, like, and the guy looking back, he was saying, "This is the last time, you know, could be the last time you stare in this mirror. This could be the last time you see your mates tonight." And those are the thoughts that were going through my head. I went up to my mate's flat. Everyone's around having a good time, having a drink. I was trying to have a drink, and I was looking at this can like, this is this going to kill me? Like, is this going to be the
last one?
a little tip over the edge, you know? And I stared around that room. Everyone's loving life, watching the rugby, and I'm like, you know, taking it in. I was just like, yeah, you've all played a massive part of my life, and I'm thankful for each and every one of you. And I'm just saying this in my head, but tomorrow morning, yeah, you guys are going to hear the news. So I'm going to find a way to do this, whether it's in my flat or elsewhere. And I'm lucky I had my flatmate with me that night, because I basically just said to him, "Hey, Codes, like, look, man, I had not been well lately, eh?" And it was so, this is one thing that made me open my mind of it, was he goes, "Really? I couldn't tell." You know, and like, I felt like it was such an just expressive thing. I thought, surely they can pick this up. So surely someone can see this.
Yeah.
Surely they can see I'm not me. Yeah. But because I'd done so well at upholding Ethan McQuinlan, you know, I basically, like, you know, it's like that whole bloody Atlas holding the wheel up.
Totally,
you know, it was Ethan holding me.
Yeah.
I was just so confused. I was like, how can no one see that I'm
this is going on? Yeah.
Yeah, so he said, "Look, bro, if you ever need to chat," you know, he's like, "You know, we've been there since high school." So this is one of my flates I'd actually been to high school with, up in Fielding. You know, and I just thought, "Hey, I don't know, like, I just, that fellow that you remember end of last year, because end of third year was awesome. Got my best grades ever at uni. I finally felt like I knew something, you know, and I was had some kind of grounded, you know, decent level of knowledge on something. Training was going all well, and in the space of 8 months, now I'm feeling like the polar opposite of that guy, like the least extent of that guy ever. And so over that Rio week and trucking on, you know, I was in close comms with my old man, and even my mum as well, and my sister, and they were trying to help, like, organic things. And Dad was the first to say, "Yo, you need to take a step back. You need to realize you're not in the right state of mind, right state of well-being to achieve at your best. You need to take time to address this." And I'm like, no, leave me. I'm going to stay down in Dunedin. I'm just going to get through this. And running through my head was this idea that this is proper between a rock and a hard place. This is what I told myself. I said, if I pull out of uni and say that I'm going back home to address my mental unwellness, people are going to think I'm the biggest fraud.
Yeah.
I projected this image that I'm a mental health advocate. I'm a high performing, you know, highly active person. I've done rugby. I'm out there, you know, in the community. If I say to people that, "Oh shit, I'm going through this again, and I'm moving back to Wellington," you're a fraud.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it was force myself to get through the rest of the year, pretty much have 100% assurance that I was going to fail.
Yeah. And
then everyone goes, "Oh, you just all talk. You know, you're a failure."
Yeah.
So
either way,
I'm thinking, what
are my choices?
And, yep. And this is why, you know, like, I owe a lot to my old man. He just the level of support he gave me, and just, yeah, I felt it was so hard because me and my old man are so close, and throughout that time, I just felt like I couldn't really be his son for a bit.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It was quite hard because it was just, even when he came down to visit for a couple of days, and we drove down to Bluffs together, and it was a great day, it was a good road trip, but the whole time it was very hard for me because he was having yarn and we're catching up, and I loved his presence there, but I just felt like I couldn't be that could hold a good combo with him and have a good time and chill.
Yeah.
Fully or 100%. We got some fish and chips down there and parked up, but it was so hard because I knew he was leaving. That was the other thing. I always think about the worst side of it. I'd be like, he's going home soon. I'm not going with him.
Yeah.
We had a good chat, and I said, oh no, look, he wanted to take me home there, and then I said, look, Dad, I gotta do this. I gotta do this. He's like, no, you don't. You're not bound to this. I couldn't see that. I was like, I'm so close to finishing. I'm so close. I'm almost there. 4 more papers. He's like, yeah, but you're not. If you broke your leg, would you go try play rugby again 2 weeks down the track?
No.
Oh, but it's in final. Your leg's broken. And I was like, but you're operating at 20%.
Yeah.
How can you expect to achieve your best when you are not 100% well?
Yeah.
You don't see Olympians, sprinters trying to run on a broken ankle 6-8 weeks after. They'll wait till they're 100% so that they can go back and give it their all.
Yeah.
So throughout that, Sam, I went right up till, I think I went just before the mid-semester, or was it just after? And so she announced another lockdown. Mum had also been down, and Mum was there for a few days, and she was good help. And it was another situation. I got my marks back for an assignment. It was a good mark. As I said, that was bullshit. I just kept saying that over and over and over again. I said, I don't deserve these marks, rah.
Yeah.
Sitting in lecture theatres, just like, oh my God, I do not know what the hell's going on. This is just a massive drag. Forcing myself to go to trainings. And it was such a vicious cycle. Wake up. And I got to the point where I hardly talked to my flatmates.
Yeah.
I was basically out of the house for 12 to 13 hours a day, get home, make dinner, start, good night, wake up, leave again, might see them for lunch, say 5 words at lunch. That's that. And then, so we had lockdown. I came home. And so Dad at the time, he's working as a GP from home. And I'm sitting at this table, the table I'm at right now, actually on the other side. He's doing his work. My brother's doing his trading. And I'm sitting there just losing my mind over these assignments. And I was just getting worse and worse and worse. And it was pretty hard because when my brother came and said, like, hey, I just watched you just driving yourself into the ground. And I was like, I know, I have to do these things. Take a break, come for a walk. No, I've got to do it. And Dad was encouraging me as well. He's like, hey, take some time away from it. I can't.
Yeah.
I have to do this. He's like, mate, like, you seriously are just really wearing yourself thin here. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I've got 3 assignments to do. There's a group thing that's expected of me. I've got to, and then again, the idea of going back down to Dunedin after the lockdown. It was like, oh, mate, to leave home again. And to feel like this even at home was
not good.
This is my safe space.
Totally,
this is my HQ. This is where I come to reset. And I felt like this at home was bloody miserable.
Yeah, totally.
So we're having this yarn, and by then I'd seen a counsellor whilst I was in Dunedin still, and I was still in talks with my counsellor, who forwarded me onto a psychologist, trying to work as many organic ways as possible to try and get through this. And then finally, I'd said so many times, because they kept mentioning medication, and I'm like, nah, look, I'm all for organic things first. I can install organic techniques to try and take this on. However, it just reached that point where it came to conclusion, and I was just like, well, let's take it the next step. So Dad got me onto a psychiatrist, and I had my first appointment with him And yeah, he diagnosed me with depression, mild depression, but he'd seen the effects. Like, it stripped away all of my abilities um, from my academic abilities through to my physical performing abilities. And it just, it really just allowed me to reflect, like, shit, when your mind isn't there fully, you can't operate and function as 100%. Mind and body work in tandem. If your mind's not there, your body ain't going there too. And so, I had the diagnosis. He put me on medication, and we made the decision, took all the right steps to withdraw from uni. And so I ended up withdrawing with exception. Tell you what, man, that was like a massive lump in the throat, hey?
I can imagine. Yeah.
Telling friends, telling the communities I was a part of that I wasn't going to be in Dunedin anymore for I don't know how long. And then I'm moving home. So afraid. It was that rock and hard place where I thought, here it comes, like bracing, get all these judgments, and people were like, and everyone just
cool.
Everyone was so supportive, and I got messages. My mates got behind me and said, "Hey, look, man, I hear what you've been going through. Just want to say we love you. Take care. We look forward to catching up soon."
Yeah.
And it was so hard because I'd been bracing to take a massive, impact, and like getting hit with all these judgments and whatnot, and it was all empathy.
Yeah, love and empathy. Yeah. Isn't it great? The stories we tell ourselves, right? The stories we tell ourselves are just our own narrative of what we're living in, and we don't see the difference. Yeah.
It's and so I moved home at the end of last year to follow through on my treatment.
Yeah.
So this is about September-ish. Yeah, September-ish, start of October. I started working, doing. So I've always done labouring. It's the only job I've ever worked in my life. And for me, it's just a great job. It gets you physically out there, moving. Just the hands-on side of things I enjoy. A lot of people, builders will entrust me with little jobs. Just building that confidence. It was a place where I was like, this is, let's just start back. Let's just build back.
Yeah,
starting the treatment. Seeing my psychiatrist. Started this new medication. It was a bit flaky, the meds. Like, for the first sort of 3-4 weeks, they sort of bring upon some niggly side effects, just like about several hours after, you just get like nausea, and I got quite fatigued.
Yeah.
Got through that, and then now I'm all goods on it now. Like, it's all smooth sailing.
Yeah.
So for the first September to December was just building confidence back up. So I started, and like I told you before, how much I'd gotten into the gym and training and nutrition. I remember walking into the gym, like, I have no clue what I'm up to.
Yeah.
I'm looking around, like, I used to be so confident in here, and I'm like, what am I doing? And I said to my brother, I'm like, yo, I don't know what I'm up to. He's like, well, you've had training programs before, you've done it yourself. I know. I don't know them.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's the extent of what I was going through. And so I just had to start off small again. It was like going back to square one. And so then slowly building back, and then basically just finding that rhythm. I ended up working over in Greytown and staying just over in the Wairarapa 4 days a week, working on the site we're working, and going to a little gym there. And that was great. It was a change of scenery, pretty peeled back, out on the countryside. And I'll still come back on the weekends. And also reconnecting with the sea. So when I was in the midst of my depression around that exam, mid-year break, I went out for a fish with Dad and his mate Mark and my nephew. And I was out there the whole time. Nothing.
Oh, wow.
No flare, no spark, none of that whole, I'm back on the sea again.
Yeah.
I went and had a sleep up the front.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was like, oh, you catch anything? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nothing. And that's when that was another massive sign for me. I was like, if it's really killed that connection, this is serious.
Yeah.
Couldn't care about the sport, couldn't care about anything else. If that my love for the sea
gone,
and Tangaroa is gone, that connection severed, I'm downright, I'm addressing it now.
Yeah.
I said to Dad, I said, hey, I lost that place, my home, the place I call home, that love for that. That's when I know you've got to do something about it.
Yeah.
So I spent that whole September, finally the weather started to come right, and we got back out in the boat, and I was so scared. I was like, do I even know how to spearfish again anymore?
Oh, wow, yeah.
Will I be able to aim a gun at a butterfish? Could I grab a crayfish again? I don't know. Surely enough, we get out with my mates, and they got around me. We usually either go around Wellington, South Coast, around Red Rocks, do the big drive, or we take the boat out and go either South Coast or West Coast. And these boys come down, and we went for a couple of missions, 4-wheel drive missions, and just finally, about 2-3 months into it, so this was around the November, December period, finally started feeling that feeling again. So emotional numbness was a true thing, where I never felt pure sadness nor enjoyment. It was blank. So for example, when I was in mid-year break, I went to spend some time with my nieces. Now those two girls are like, for me, they're my everything. I call them my two little gems. Seeing them brings me more happiness in life. We'd be up there with diving. They're above diving. They take precedence. I was with them, and was with Rach. Said, Rach, as much as I know I should love being here, I seriously can't connect with it. She's like, oh. I was like, yeah. Like the girls, I know I should be Uncle and loving them, but I just sit there so blank, just like nothing. And I'm just thinking, what is going on? And so finally, it's like, again, I lost that other side of me, Uncle E. The girls have grown up, and I'm just like, shit, these girls are going to grow up without an uncle. So at the time, I was like, this is getting like this.
Things got to change.
That was huge, like saying that to yourself, these girls are going to grow up with an uncle. These girls are going to grow up with an uncle. See, like, they've only got 2 uncles. It's me and my brother, and that it's huge. I was like, okay, Ryan's just gonna have to take the way to me. And that was gnarly,
I can imagine.
So building again, just rebuilding that feeling, emotion, etc. Feeling like I could do things again. By that November, December period, I got a groove on. I finally felt my rhythm somewhat back in the gym. I got out for a dive, finally shot a kingfish after 3 years not shooting one. That feeling again, grabbing crays. And just roll on effect. The summer came round, and you're getting out on the water, and started loving it. Seeing the girls, going around there pretty much every time I came back to Wellington, having sleepovers, spending nights, movie nights with my sister, hanging out with my mates. Me and my mate, so my mate Ben, who'd moved down to Dunedin with me in my 4th year there, he stayed back down, and I moved home. So when he came back up, he helped me. So he's been my best mate since we were about 15. Through that whole period whilst I was down there, him and I just glued to the hip. He helped me through so much of it. He said, he backed me up just incredibly. He held me. He was like true brother in arms. And he said, look, bro, he was the one that was really saying, like, no one's going to judge you. If you go home, no one's going to judge you for it. Bro, we back you. We're your mates. And, I owe a lot to that man. He's held my back through thick and thin. And that was a massive time. To have him there side by side was huge. And, so end of the year, those boys came back up from Dunedin, and things, it was great. And so I had an awesome summer. I basically spent the most time ever in my life, for one consecutive summer on the water.
Oh, wow.
Out there just as many days as I could, just, smashing it. And leading into this year, this first semester has been great. It's pretty laid back semester compared to some of my others. Managed to do half of it from distance, working as a labourer. Loving my labouring, loving my training, getting out on the water most Saturdays with my mates, big days out on the water. And, coming back to now, so I came back down after the mid-year break. Dunedin, it was daunting. The thought of coming back, hence why I didn't come back down at the start of SEN. I just wasn't ready. Was not ready to take that back. I knew I wanted to study, but and take that back on. I knew I didn't want to come back to Neen just then.
Yeah.
After that mid-season break, I had my last couple missions on the boat out here, and I thought, no, I'm ready now. So luckily I had a flat, flew down, got to the flat, and it just felt good to be back. I fell straight into routine that I'd built in Dunedin prior to the last year's downward spiral. And I just found myself flying on the rhythm. My mates that were there, it was great to see them getting out and about, interacting, meeting new people, back with Silverline, back with the club, my boxing club. And so now I'd say I've regathered some of the old me, but it's a new perspective. I know now, I am on medication, but I know it's not like I go, the reason why I'm like this is medication. I'm doing a lot of things that I know are me. Totally. These are me. It's not, they're there as like a supportive system. They're just to keep things, help me. But what I do with myself is all out of my own intuition.
Totally.
I walk from home to class up in Roslyn Hill because I love walking. I love taking in scenes, right? I do the gym, do the library, go boxing and chill, listen to my music, go to the boys' flat, catch up, have catch up, play, it's funny as it is. I like playing Wordle and all those little games because they're just good for my brain. I just like it.
Yeah, totally.
Little things like that, tidying this, all sorts of things, man. And going for beach swims, cold water swims, a bit of meditation time, things like that. It's and it is amazing, I guess, for me, sitting where I am now. If I had to tell you about my last year, so we were almost a year. Basically, this time last year, I was in the midst of the lowest I'd ever felt in my life, and versus now, and two completely different people. But still, in some sense, it's not like I say that Ethan's gone. It's just we are two completely different people. Our mindsets, our outlooks, understandings. Old me thought you had to have something to your name, i.e. with the credentials that you've got a degree, you've got a professional sport, whatever, to be someone, And so I threw a lot of who I was out the door. Now I know exactly who I am, At the end of the day, if everything stripped to it, and I was left with nothing, couldn't play sport, acting was one thing, I still know who I am. I'm me. I've got my family, I've got my diving, I've got my fishing. Even if I couldn't fish, I still got the water. You can't take that away from me. It's still just down the road, So coming to now, I'm doing things similar. Some of the things I'm still doing the same. I've picked back up, but I've done new things on top of that as well. So it's been a massive growth and massive learning journey. The testaments to myself, mindsets, the thoughts that I had this time last year to where I'm at now. It's amazing. It's amazing. I credit that fellow a year ago for just showing persistence, but then also showing that just glimmer of vulnerability, and then opening up on that and going, just allow yourself to be vulnerable and just accept it, and accept that you're going to go on this pathway to getting, to getting yourself back on track. And so here I am. Things have been great. Obviously, there's still, there's not everything's perfect. It's a bumpy road, never a straight line. So,
totally.
I'm still doing things, making mistakes along the road, and that's why it's great. I've got my brother, my dad, and my sister who are awesome, just role models for me, and they're always by my side. They're trying to help. So whenever I've got something going wrong, or if they see something, they're always quick to have a yarn to me about it. And so it's huge thanks to them, my mates. And so
here you are today.
Current Ethan, 2022.
I mean, thank you for sharing that. That story is a pretty amazing story, and it's got a lot of emotion in there. And I think like you mentioned before, you don't regret any of those things that had to happen for you to get to where you are. But also, I think one of the key things is that there were people around you who actually stopped you and said, "Hey, wait a minute, the stuff that's up in your mind is just in your mind, but we're here for you. It doesn't matter, you know." And I think a lot of us out there think we're in this life alone, even though we think we're alone, but actually there's people out there that are caring for us, even though we don't know who they are. There are people out there. And you know, for you, that was what happened. You know, your dad, as you said, your nieces. You know, just the thought of your nieces not having Uncle E, your friend Ben. You know, just those things there. So it's important for listeners out there to remember that there. Ethan, we've been chatting for almost an hour and a half, which is great, which is fantastic. And your story is amazing, and I'm sure we could keep on talking because that's how much power you have in your conversation. But we'd like to end the podcast shortly, and
easy as man.
The way I like to end the podcast is, you know, our podcast is called Bastards of Knowledge, and you've had an amazing story so far. If you had to tell our listeners out there, if there was one piece of knowledge to put in their basket, what would you say to them through your experiences?
Vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability is the ability to show that you are open to growth and you are open to change. You know, so I always say vulnerability is not weakness. You know, being vulnerable is, in the new day and age as a man, is a huge, huge value that, you know, if you can embrace that, learn that, and accept that, you allow yourself to receive help from others, and you allow yourself to open for good change. So vulnerability is not weakness. Two separate things.
That's really, really powerful. Hey, vulnerability is not weakness, which goes back right to the start of our conversation today when we spoke about the facade that we have. And we have the facade because we're afraid to be vulnerable. And the fear comes from where? I don't know where the fear comes from, but it's this expectation of society, especially as a male. As a male, you have this expectation that you shouldn't be vulnerable. And if you're vulnerable, you cry. This is it.
No, it's that misconception that they are the same thing.
Totally.
And they are not, you know. And, you know, a guy that I know he's highly controversial, but Jordan Peterson, he said, he's got a very good saying, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that saying is massive, you know. A warrior in a garden, what is that? Okay, that's a good man who still prides himself for the values and traits that he has, but he's also able to sit down and realize, right, I can still allow myself to feel, you know, to be open, to show that, show my true self. There's no need to hide and put an armor on. You can take the helmet off when I need to.
Totally.
So, that's a huge one. You know, so trying to make other dudes, you know, resonate with that, or have that resonate with them is massive, because I know young males, it's a big confusion. If you're not, you know, a big, hard, strong dude, or a dude that, you know, rips the head off it every Saturday and whatnot, then, you know, you're somewhat soft. But that ain't it. You still do those things and show your true colors. It's not saying like you have to do this without that. Being vulnerable, you can go about, be a man, do what you need to do, but being vulnerable is a part of that.
Yeah, totally. And it's part of life, really. It's part of life, as we've seen in your story, your short story so far, is you have these plans for life, but life has other plans for you. And you cannot dictate those, whatever you do, all the preparation.
No control.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going back to your story. You trained for 2 years, you got ready for 2 years, you go into the field, rolled ankle. Because you plan for that? Never plan for that, right? So, you know, being vulnerable and going like, cool, hey, this is what happens. Yeah. Ethan, this is fantastic. For our listeners out there, thank you for listening in to this podcast here. As always, we appreciate you listening in. Tiny had to disappear to do some stuff with his whānau, which is very important for him and his whānau. But as always, just remember to put a piece of knowledge into your basket and always keep learning. Thanks, everybody, and bye. Thanks, Ethan.
Thank you for listening to Baskets of Knowledge.
Yeah, we hope that you found something useful to put into your baskets of knowledge. And as we said before, remember to put something little into your baskets of knowledge every week. And as always, feel free to like, comment, and share this podcast. Thanks, everybody. Bye.